Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening up in the sky above us for today and for the weekend. And happy Human Design New Year to all of you, as today is the first day of the Human Design New Year. So, of course, we're going to have to talk about that. And it had been my intention to do a webinar on the new year and all that it brought. Unfortunately, I have been so busy, I wasn't able to create that, but I'm in the process of creating pieces of it that I will release to everybody as it's ready. Today, the first piece is about what does the chart look like for the day and how does that set us up for what goes on for the rest of the year. And I'll be showing you that in just a little bit. We also are going to talk about what the astrology looks like for the weekend and as well what the Pleiadian energy looks like for the weekend. So we have a lot to get to today. I hope everybody is doing well and having a successful 2021 so far. It has certainly been a busy one for me and filled with possibilities and all kinds of interesting things. And my wish for all of you is that your life is interesting, is filled with possibilities, and as well filled with the blessings that possibilities can bring us. So I'm not sure what is going on with my lighting this morning. It feels dark in here to me. And I thought at first my computer was dark or, on battery, low on battery, but I'm all plugged in and ready to go. So it's probably just because of the light outside, perhaps, right? I'm counting down the days until the sun is up in the morning. Yay. I know that the wisdom would say, stay here in the moment, be here in the moment, and enjoy this moment. And yes, I do, but it's harder and harder to get up in the dark, I swear. All right. So shall we jump in and start talking about what is up for the day today? Right now, the moon is in the sign of Taurus. So having triggered Uranus and Mars earlier this week in her transit through the sign, surprisingly, it was quiet. And I feel like what happened in terms of the Mars energy meeting up with Uranus is that it exploded a doorway opening for us all to walk through, engaging with one another in perhaps new ways, right? That is the biggest thing that I see that has happened this week, at least here in the U.S. with the changing of the guard, is that the feeling happens to be more around what's possible and let's see how we move forward. It doesn't mean the problems are solved. It doesn't mean that we're all back to unity kind of thinking. But it does mean that there is the potential now for conversation to be elevated to a different level, for more transparency, for more integrity, which are also themes that we're going to see that are lined up for us here in the Human Design New Year. Now, as the moon is late in the degrees of Taurus right now, that means we're headed for a void, of course. And the void is from 1:28 p.m. my time, West Coast time, to 11:44 p.m. West Coast time, which means that it's going to shift out of Taurus and into the sign of Gemini just before midnight here on the West Coast. So for those of you that live on the East Coast or further east than the West Coast, it means that it is tomorrow morning, very early, that the moon changes to the sign of Gemini. And of course, as Gemini is a sign of the mind and thinking, and a sign of communication and short distance travel, you could look at that and think, maybe this is going to be a busy weekend of going, doing, talking, getting together with as many people as is, right for your area and conditions, and being able to communicate more, maybe more active on social media, maybe more active in your neighborhoods, as Gemini energy also rules the neighborhood energy, right? The people that are close to us, but not necessarily our parents or our children, or our loved ones. So, our significant others. There we go. Now, while the moon is finishing up her transit through the sign of Taurus, we have a sextile from the moon to Neptune. So there's an edge there of intuition and instinct that might be driving us in making our decisions today. That would be the best way for us to take a look at making a decision, is to really tune in, in tune with what's going on in the spiritual realm. And then later, as the day wears on, we have a square to Mercury, who is now in the shadow of his retrograde. So there might be some, disturbances in the communication force, some disturbances in the mind, and are getting scattered. My new kitty back here, Binksy, say hello. Is scattering my mind at the moment as she's meowing at me and running around my legs down here. She's just turned out to be a doll baby, and I just absolutely adore her. And what's funny is she's taking on Sadie characteristics, and so I can't help but think Sadie had her little paw in on this bringing to me of this kitty. I came home yesterday, and then when I walked in, there she is sitting in my chair. And Sadie did that, right? Sadie, as soon as I was out of my chair, she was in my chair. And then then later I noticed she was sitting in my office chair. So there's my chair that I usually sit on in the living room. And then she was also sitting in my office chair. And I just thought it was so cute. And my heart just swells thinking about it. And now she's doing what Sadie did, right? Sitting behind me during the broadcast, which I find fascinating. Okay, so let's finish with what the astrology looks like for the day. The last aspect before the moon goes into the void is a trine to Pluto. Now, anytime Pluto gets involved, we have transformation energy. We have us being drugged into the darker places within us, into our psyche, if you will, or the psychology of us as individuals. But also, because Pluto is an outer planet, it also takes us into the collective and the shadow of the collective. And there can be some emotions that are caught up in that, whether it's anger or love, or is it, some other emotion. It's there for us to work through and process as we go into the void of course moon. Now, likely this is going to play out. So the void starts at 1:28 p.m. my time. So that means that the last aspect, the moon to Pluto, is happening from then, and then all the way into 11:44 p.m. this evening. So for the second half of the day, there can be a trigger point that has occurred that has some emotion around it that you may want to work through as well. The biggest aspect of the day today, however, isn't with the moon, it is with Mars, and Mars coming into a square with Jupiter. Now, this has been building. This has been building for the last several days. And now today it comes to the exact. Now, this isn't the first time we've experienced Mars square Jupiter, by the way. In August, Mars was in Aries and Jupiter was in Capricorn, and they came together in a square at that point. In October, the same, they came together in a square. And then today, they are coming into the square, but from new signs, Mars being in Taurus and Jupiter being in Aquarius. So it feels like that something that occurred or was occurring around the August to October window that was in the older signs. So the signs of chaos, conflict, confrontation. And then that's where Mars was, in a sign he ruled, very powerful. And then Jupiter in Capricorn, which was helping us to build a bridge between the old and the new, right? As we were letting go of an old paradigm, of an old patriarchal paradigm, and we are getting ready to embrace a more equal and a paradigm of equanimity and a paradigm of equality. Now, we're not there yet, but these two squares that happened earlier versus this square happen to feel like they're bookends, perhaps, of a closing of some kind of phase that Mars and Jupiter represents. Well, Mars represents action and dynamic motion moving forward. And also, he's a catalyzer. He lights the match that starts the fire. And Jupiter can expand and embrace something bigger, but it also looks forward toward growth and evolution. So what we see is the lighting of a match, perhaps, of what the future holds. So looking at a future that is in the sign of Aquarius, right? So an age of Aquarius. And every little positive step that we take acts like a building block that builds that even stronger as we keep moving forward, letting go of division and polarization and all that old stuff, and being able to work forward and see things through different eyes and through a heart, right? Through the heart, not through the mind that just wants to buzz, 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 buzz with all kinds of BS and keep us locked in an old paradigm, right? So we have to see with our hearts, feel with our hearts, hear with our hearts, so that we can move forward. And that's, I think, what the closing phase of Mars square Jupiter means. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to see conflict or confrontation ever again. That's just not, that would be not realistic. But let's hope that it has a different voice, right? A different energy around it that's more in keeping with civility and love. And I mean, we can disagree and still love one another. That, I mean, I don't know whoever thought of the idea that if we disagreed, we can't love one another. That just seems so silly now as I look back and I'm thinking, wow. So an old paradigm passing away, making room for a new one. But there are a couple of things personally that we have to watch with Mars and Jupiter coming together. We have to watch overdoing things, overeating, over imbibing, overdoing, anything that you can think of, right? Anything that we can do as an action is subject to maybe overdoing it when we have Mars and Jupiter coming together. We also have to watch jumping in too soon into something. For example, a great opportunity comes along, but it's going to cost quite a bit of money. But we're so optimistic today and we feel so good. We go, okay, great, I'm just going to do it. And we jump in and we do it without thinking or without using our type and our strategy in human design that would help us make sure that we were moving in the right direction for the right opportunities and in the right timing. So we just have to watch doing that. There's nothing wrong with being optimistic. And I'm not saying that it's not a good time to do anything. I'm just saying, make sure it's correct for you. It makes sense that you've run it through your strategy and your authority in human design, and that you know what it is that is correct for you to do. But that excitement and that optimism, I want you to keep that, because that's the energy that we're, sort of fanning right now as we keep moving forward. So don't lose sight of what's possible. Don't lose sight of the future or of the goal, but make sure that every decision that you make in getting to that goal is correct for you, so that it's happening in the right timing. All right. So if I could distill this down, what it says to me is that we need a good dose of common sense, right? What's practical, what's sensical, and add that with imagination to live out our highest and best. So it's not only one or the other, it's both, right? The practical common sense things that we can do with the imaginational energy that's available to us that helps us to move forward and living out the highest that we can expect. So that's basically today's energy. Pleiadian wise, we are at the 7 energy day. So we are at the energy that perches right at the middle of the spiral of evolution that we began last Friday, I believe it was. Or last Saturday, I can't remember what day. Oh, I do have it open, on the 16th, where we entered into one loving as the overtone energy for the 13-day period. So we're 7 days beyond that now. One loving was about love, but often what we see first are the conflicts, the chasms that stand between us that we would have to somehow bridge in order to be able to find love. And then once we are able to bridge that, then we open our hearts wider. And then what happens today is healing. Today we're at 7, healing. And healing energy in the Mayan calendar was Ish, Ish, which was a representation of the jaguar, which has mysticalness around it, has magical properties. It has shape-shifting properties. It has healing, right? The healing of the mind, the body, the soul. So today is a great day, 7 healing, and we stand at that precipice, that halfway point in the spiral of consciousness. That's kind of the tipping point, pushing us over to the evolution of our consciousness. So a really good day there. Tomorrow, as we look at the astrology, the astrology of the day, the moon is going to be in Gemini, my favorite sign. And we have really beautiful energy tomorrow as the moon, our emotional self, comes into a trine with the sun and Saturn and Jupiter. So the heavy planets are societal planets. There's a conversation that's about to start, if it hasn't already. And it's a conversation of possibilities and curiosity and potential. And what would happen if, right? What happens if we come together and we solve our problems together? Wow, what a concept, right? So the moon in Gemini is bringing us that curiosity to extend ourselves outward, to grow and find new information and new pieces of the puzzle that can rock our world, that can indeed change our society. So tomorrow's energy with the moon hitting those planets, Sun, Saturn, and Jupiter, is very affective in keeping us moving forward and seeing what it is what more is possible. Can't get rid of that word. We also have 2 other planetary energies showing up tomorrow. Venus in a sextile to Neptune. Sextile is a 60-degree relationship. So anytime we have a square, a conjunction, a sextile, an opposition, these are just terms that describe the relationship between planets. So I just say that as a reminder. It's not that it's this tech word that we have to, break down. It is just characterizing the relationship that is available between the planets on that day. So the trines are representing an ease and flow, like the energy is just flowing beautifully. You've had this experience when you're sitting around the table at dinner or at a family gathering and everybody is just flowing the conversation and everything just seems to work well. Those are our trines. So the outer planets, or the transpersonal planets, Saturn and Jupiter, that are responsible for building our society, and the sun with his very powerful personality focus is taking us into an ease and flow of new ideas, of curiosity, of conversation that is somewhat elevated here, a new conversation. Now, with Venus in the sextile to Neptune, we have love entering the mix, right? We have love on the physical plane through Venus, and then we have love on the spiritual plane from Neptune. So we have love and universal love meeting together with those luscious trines. So it feels to me like it's a really, really good day. It's a day to be romantic. It's a day to elevate your imagination. It is maybe dreams of unity or dreams of what could be, and allowing ourselves to take our hearts and move in that direction. What would happen if we were all whole, healed, and healthy? Then, a little bit later in the day, the sun comes into a conjunction with Saturn. We pretty much should expect this, right? The sun has just recently moved into Aquarius on Tuesday the 19th, and the first planet he's going to enter into a connection with is going to be Saturn, also in Aquarius, slower than Jupiter. So Jupiter's a little bit further up. So here is nose to the grindstone kind of energy. This is the energy of work, the work that we like to do. Like we're going to tackle that closet, or we're going to tackle that garage that we just threw all the Christmas decorations out into that we need to reorganize. Whatever it is, we're going to be able to use focus and concentration energy toward getting things done. Yay, right? But it is also an energy where Saturn tends to dampen down the sun's enthusiasm. So there may be moments where we feel a little melancholic, a little introspective, and alternately, we may have a real appreciation for the steps that it takes to get a job done, and how it feels when we just roll up our sleeves and we dig in, and then we see the job or the work when it gets done feels so good, right? That we just accomplished something. So Saturday looks like a really good day, although I would say that maybe some people might feel a little up and down at times just because the sun is the feel-good planet besides Jupiter and Venus out there. And yet he's kind of coming into this connection with the planet Saturn, which tends to get us back into our skin, get us back into our reality, right? And sometimes reality bites a little bit. So just don't concern yourself over it if that occurs. Just maybe focus again back on whatever the job was at hand, and live, just in the beautiful energy of getting something done, of accomplishment. Now, tomorrow will also be an 8-day in the Pleiadian energy. That will be 8 seeing tomorrow. So 8 is the heart-to-heart connection, right? The heart being magnetic and attracting to us the things that we are focused on. If we're focused on love, we're getting more love. If we're focused on confrontation, then that's maybe what we're going to find ourselves within. All things that request that we apply more love, right? More love to the connection means more love all the way around. And then as well, the 8 energy embodies the spirit to physical, right? So embodying, being the mirror of spirit within. So this is mirror energy, right? The other reflects what's going on with us, as well as spirit in reflecting what's going on with us, or what's potentially here for us in the physical. And then on Sunday, we go into 9 energy. 9 is about harmonizing and harmonizing with our intuition. It's intuition day. So we have a nice weekend as far as the evolution is concerned. So because the week began in one loving, what we're seeing our consciousness doing is moving more and more into that loving energy, loving ourselves, loving one another, loving nature, loving the world, loving our enemies, perceived enemies, and just applying more and more of that love into our lives. Questions, anybody? Let me jump over here real quickly and see how everybody's doing this morning. Whoa, hello, Tom. Good day to you. 882 Jess, good morning. And J-Lo, hello to you. Jules Dalune, good morning. Tom Wright says, Mary, human design. I love it. Kathleen Mallory, hello to you. Asa, great to see you out there. Debbie Tibbetts Tumio, my love, good to see you. Debbie, oh my gosh, she sent me pictures the other day. She came to visit me once in, what was that, 2015, I think it was, Debbie. Holy cow, I can't believe it's been that long. And she had these beautiful pictures, one of Sadie and one of Hannah, my favorite Dalmatian sort of looking dog. And she sent those to me the other night and just broke my heart wide open. It was amazing. Thank you, Debbie. You just don't know what it means to see pictures of your favorite pets once more and in their healthiness, right? They were both in their healthy glow at that point in time. Taylor Jenkins, it's great to see you. Mimi, good morning to you. And thanks, Debbie. And Jules says, looks great. Thank you very much. Tom, come to the light. Corey, good morning. Melanie, it's Mimi. Hey, Binksy. Hey, Binksy. Everybody's saying, oh, she's passed out now. She's asleep. Adrienne Jones, good morning to you. Christine Buckingham, good morning. Allison D, good morning. Monique, hello. And J-Lo's message got held. I'm going to hit show. J-Lo, please take a moment to hit the thumbs up button. Thank you very much, and support that information by sharing this with your friends, family, people that you think might be interested in your social media. Coach Michael, good morning to you as well. It's good to see you out there with us. Let me just take this moment to remind everybody that we're coming to the end of the month of January, and it is time for you to choose for sure whether you want to get your Astrology of 2021 reading. It is good. The special price of $89 is good through January 31st. After that, you could still get the reading, but the price will go up to $99. And even if you're scheduling it at the last day, and I know you won't get it into January because it's been booked February, you can still have the reading at the special price, no matter that it has to be booked into February. I hope that makes sense. And Asa will be sharing the link here in the chat for everybody. And it is a lot of information, so you kind of need to buckle your seatbelts when we sit back and talk about that information out there. Tammy Smith, good morning to you. It's good to see you out there joining us from South Carolina, from the East Coast. All right. So, Asa, thank you for sharing that link for me out there. I am going to switch now gears, and we're going to take a look at what is going on in human design. As I said, today is the first day of the human design new year. And Janet, get your face on here. Here we go. There we go. Okay. Now, what you all should be seeing is a familiar graphic. This is the graphic that I send out each week, or I put up each week, about the sun and the earth and what those two planets are bringing to us. And so our human design new year begins January 22nd, and it moves on through the 26th, or this week does. The human design sun is sitting at the gate 41. And every year when the sun enters that gate, it signals the new year. And the new year begins very much down in the root center, which you can't see here in that graphic, but you'll see it in a minute when I show the next graphic. And it is the center, the root center is a center of impulse energy. It sends out a pulse. And that pulse of energy that is moving out is creative, is based on imagination. And it says, imagine all the possibilities and then act on the ones that are correct for you, because it's not just about keeping it up here in your head. It's about really taking what's up here in your head and acting on, through your type and your strategy and your authority, the ones that are correct for you. And then in the right timing, moving forward, moving outward. So the gate 41 doesn't hold back and say, I'm only going to think about this or that. It is imagine in the big picture, right? Imagine the big picture. Imagine what can happen in a world that is completely different than maybe the one that we have now. Or what more is possible? What can we add to this world that enhances our experience here with one another and with all of the possibilities that there are? So the sun at the gate 41, imagination, is holding out the carrot, right? That says, come get me, right? Come make it true, make it so, in Jean-Luc Picard's words, make it so, right? Let's do that. We can't just hold it up here. We have to actually move it into some space of reality. And doesn't that kind of sound like what I was saying here with the energy of Mars squaring Jupiter today, where we need that good dose of common sense and reality, and added that to imagination in order to live out our highest and best? So it requires both. Now, in the shadow of the sun at gate 41, what we have is fantasy. And we all know what fantasy is. It's when we get so caught up in the imaginal, then we forget that we actually have boots on the ground, right? Physical life, that we actually have to bring those ideas and fantasies into reality. At least the good ones, at least the ones that we want to live out our highest and our best. In the gift, it is anticipation. What more is possible? What could happen if? What, the possibility thinking comes right from this particular gate. And in the Siddhi, the highest expression, let's say, of this energy, it becomes emanation. And an emanation is the light shining through us and out into the world. So it's a very powerful word, I think, to put up there in that position. Now, the earth is at the gate 31, the leadership gate. Interesting that we start the human design year in the gate that we consider the gate of democracy. This whole channel, by the way, the 31, which links up to the 7, right here, joining up our throat center, that's where the 31 is, to the identity center at gate 7, is known to be a gate of elected leadership. Now, it doesn't, there are many ways to elect leaders. It could be someone that's invited to come in and join a group and become its leader. There's the more civic or government oriented ways that we have elections. But what it says is that here in this particular gate, we have to listen, we have to learn, and we have to hear, and we have to serve our community when it's appropriate, when we are asked to step up, because it's on the throat center. It's a projected gate. Projected means that we wait for the invitation. We don't just go in and snag leadership. We don't just go in and become authoritarians or dictators to a group, to a family, to a government, to any organization. We wait for an elected leader to step up. And all of us have this gate in our charts. So all of us have the opportunity at times to step up to the plate and take on leadership, right? But it's when it's appropriate. It's not just a power grab. And we see that the shadow energy in that gate is arrogance. I think we've had enough of that, right? We've had enough of the arrogance. We need to come to the leadership, right? The gift level of leadership energy. And leadership is leading by example. It's leading with the heart. It's leading with energy that says, I want to do what's best for all, right? That, and all have an equal voice in that. So the highest expression is humility, right? Humility. And think back to, times where you've maybe had to operate under a leader who was arrogant, who just, dictated what it was that you were meant to do rather than listening to the group. So our opportunity here is to imagine a world where we all carried the mantle of leadership and stepped up to the plate when appropriate or when invited to do so. It's amazing, right? So this is our time, these 4 days, 5 days here that we have to really dream a new dream, right? To tap into what it is that we could create if we got out of our own way, if we got out of our minds and into our hearts. That's the opportunity here. And then not only does it set the tone for what's to come well into the future, it sets the tone for what's to come in this year, because it's the gateway into 2021, just like it was the gateway into 2020. Right? Every year, this is the gateway energy that we come through. And hopefully every year we're walking through this gateway in a new way. And if I want to combine that with what we see in the Pleiadian-Earth calendar, we see that the energy here is walking into 7 healing, right? It's also a portal. 7 energy, right, is the portal, the halfway point. And so we're turning the corner of this evolution of consciousness. And so it's interesting that 7 healing energy is holding the space in the Pleiadian calendar for the imagination and leadership potential for 2021. I just love it. It seems coherent to me. It seems almost perfect, right? Perfect. All right, I'm going to stop sharing this one. And then I want to take a look at another graphic of the energies that we are looking at in terms of the whole chart for the day. So when we look at the human design themes for the year, number one, we look at what's possible from the imagination and the leadership energies, right? That's giving us a new beginning, a new pulse here into that energy. But we also know that we have inner planets and we have outer planets. And the inner planets move far more quickly. So, for example, the sun and the earth, they're moving through a gate every 4 or 5 days. When we get to the nodes, they're moving through gates about every 3 months. We have Mercury, Venus, and Mars that are moving through sometimes 2, sometimes 3 gates in a week. So if we were to try to chart from the standpoint of the inner planets, what the year would bring, we would drive ourselves nuts because it would be too much information. So really what we're looking at then in the year, if we wanted to look at what the bigger themes are for the year, we're going to look at our outer planets as well as the nodes, because even though the nodes are up here in the inner planets role of personal sort of energy, the nodes themselves move once every 3 months. So it slows down the process, and we see more themes popping up for us in a periodic sort of way. That's what I guess I'm trying to say, periodic. So seasonally, we pretty much enter into a new set of nodes. And so that I'm going to use also in the template for setting the themes for the year. And then as well, we need to look at Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, because they're also moving through a predictable set of gates, a set number of gates for this particular year. Jupiter's moving through 5 gates this year. He speeds up through the sign of Aquarius. Saturn is moving through 2 or 3 of them. Uranus pretty much stays at 1 gate for most of the year with a little toe tap into another one. Neptune staying at the same gate, Pluto staying at the same gate, wobbling a little bit, but not necessarily making big changes that are of a lasting nature. So those outer planets really give us sort of this idea of the bigger picture for 2021, or for any year for that matter. But if we look at the snapshot of the day, much like taking a snapshot and looking at your birthday, right, in a solar return reading, what we see then is the potential of the movement of the planets and where it is that they might be taking us. Now, the sun and earth are rhythmic. They are always going to be at these gates on the human design New Year day. The moon is going to be different, and the nodes are going to be different, and Mercury, Venus, and Mars are going to be different every year, right? Because they are moving at different rates. And as well, the outer planets, except for Neptune and Pluto, pretty much are also changing gates throughout the year. But we could take the snapshot look and we see, okay, we're dealing with imagination and leadership energy. Where's our moon? The moon in human design is what drives us, what really challenges us to get out of bed in the morning and to make our moves. Now, this in no way changes your personal human design. So really, you need almost to have your own personal human design chart in your hand. There we go. And note where the planets are for you in your own chart, and then use these gates as an idea to what new gates are popping up in your human design chart. So for example, if you don't have the gate 41 defined, suddenly you do, right? It's there. And if you look at it in your own chart, does it complete the channel because you have something sitting at the opposite gate? Or does it just, is that an open channel and it just hangs there? Those kinds of things give you an idea about how that energy is going to play out. And later on today, I'm going to be posting an article that I've already written about this that will explain a little bit more to you about how to tell how the planets are affecting you personally. I will post that on the Living Astrology page, as well as the community page. And for those of you in the membership, I'll also post it in the membership page. Now, when we look at the moon and what drives us, it's in the gate 8, which has always been a gate that is on the throat center. It's right up here. If you look right here is gate 8. It is an energy that pushes us outward, right? I forgot to mark the gate 8 for the moon there, but pretend the gate 8 is got a little line there. And that gate 8 of contribution leads us to move outward, to use our voice, to use our talents, to use our gifts in a way to contribute to the overall benefit of humanity. Now, remember, this energy now is temporary. It's the moon. It's here today, and it's here, for a few hours, and then it will move on to the next gate, which I don't even know what the next gate is that it moves on to. So after 8 to 22nd, after 8 we'll have, it's going to complete the day at the gate 8, and then in the morning we'll be at a gate 20. So the gate 8 right now, our opportunity is to take a look at where it is we want to contribute. What's driving you? What's driving you in your life to get out of bed? What is it that you're passionate about sharing with the world? It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe you're just here to share love. Maybe you're just here to share peace. That doesn't matter. It's that you do that, that you share what it is that you're here to share. Whether you know yet exactly what that is or not, just showing up is a contribution to the world. So the moon showing us what's driving us. The nodes are giving us a trajectory of lessons and the evolution on the planet. And the nodes are really interesting right now because they've been sitting here since before the new year, right? So they didn't change because of the new year. They were there at the beginning of November, and they will stay in this pair of gates until February. And the theme in these particular gates are one of tribal energy, right here, gate 45, coming down from the throat center, of distribution of wealth. And it's interesting to see how that's playing out as stimulus money, or figuring out jobs and how do we pay people. And um, food stamps in this country. There was this another, bump up perhaps in food stamp money. And irregardless of what you think about the programs, it is about distribution. It's about how do we move money and how do we share of the wealth with all people. And then in the South Node is sitting at the gate of integrity, gate 26, right here on the will center or the heart center. And so we see a theme about distributing things in integrity. And I remember back, for example, when the first PPP loans were coming out and how they were gobbled up by big corporations who really didn't need them. And there was a lack of integrity in the distribution. And now, of course, we have the focus here in where are we going to distribute funds and how do we do that in a fair and equitable way? And in your own personal life, because you're not immune to the trajectory of the nodes. Where are you also needing to be more engaged in the distribution of your energies, your time, your money, your efforts, your gifts, your talents? And how do you need to restore yourself to integrity? This is the 26. It's also the gate of lying, right? If in the shadow, it's the energy of lying, and in the highest expression, it is being integrity, truth, right? Truth. So going to a trajectory of restoring truth and equal distribution of our wealth, whatever that might mean to you. Then we have the inner planets, Mercury. Mercury sitting at the catalyst gate. The 49 is the gate of revolution, Viva la Revolution. And here we have this pulse of energy that comes from the mind that says, maybe we're not so happy with the way things have been. We're not so happy that with maybe what we see right now. But what we have is a personal revolution that recognizes that things don't change in the outer world unless we change our inner world. So Mercury, the mind, having to change what we are thinking about, what we're focusing on, being responsible for our own creations. So that's an interesting gate to see Mercury sitting at for the new year. Venus at the gate 54, divine inspiration. Gate 54 is a gate that opens up ambition and drive to succeed or to push us out of our comfort zones. The gate 54 is the opening gate. It's an implied opening gate to the mystical circuit, which some of you may have heard me talk about. It's our sort of hero's journey, our spiritual reason for being here, the higher purpose behind our incarnation. And the gate 54 is where the hero sets out on the journey. Right. And we're assuming we're going to find success. And then, of course, across the time, we run into and bump into challenges and other people and problems and joyful events. And we finally come back to achieving the dream. And what was that about? So Venus, our relationships, helping us to become more divinely inspired to move forward in some way. We're moving forward in the world, on the globe. We're moving forward in our individual nations. We're moving forward in our communities, and we're moving forward as individuals, and Venus anchoring that for us, kind of a theme that's going to be in the mix for all of 2021. Mars at the gate 27. Here's another one of those gates that is about the theme of this year, sustenance. And not only is Mars sitting there, but we also see Uranus sitting there. And he is an outer planet, so that means he's sitting here for a longer period of time. He was already here when the calendar year began, and he's already been bringing it up to us. How do we distribute? How do we take care of one another? How do we take care of our weakest links? And how do we uplift and elevate everybody to an equal playing field? And so there's a lot about fairness here. There's a lot about education and cooking and nurturing and taking care of and teaching, right? The values of the society or the values of a community or a family. So it's very values oriented. So we have a year then where two particular planets, two very powerful and action oriented planets, are awakening us to the need for sustenance. And it's not only playing out in the things like food and values, but it's also looking at the global condition that we find ourselves in. And some of the actions that have already been taken in the new administration are about returning to sustenance, right? Creating relationships that provide nurturing for the globe, for the country, for our communities, our states, and for us as individuals. And I bet you if I looked at what was going on in other countries, there would be the same theme that is running through of sustenance. So those are our inner planets, and they're going, like I said, going to move quickly. So, this is gone, probably in the next couple of days. Certainly the sun and the earth will move on by the 26th. So it just sort of settles in the themes that are going to resonate with us as we move forward in the year. But the outer planets, they represent the collective. In Jupiter and Saturn's case, they represent the society or the culture that we're in, the timing that we're in. And what's the role, how are the roles changing in society? And so it's a smaller way of looking at things, but it's also affecting the collective in the bigger, from the outer planets, what's going on in the bigger picture. So if we look at Jupiter, Jupiter starts the year interesting because just yesterday, Jupiter, Saturn, and the sun would have been at the gate 41. But Jupiter changed and moved into the gate 19, which is a gate of sensitivity, attuning to the unseen realm. It's our ability to tap in through intuition and instinct or knowingness to things other than what's logical and step by step in the mind. So we have Jupiter pushing us to be more sensitive and to be more on the hunt for intimacy and for bringing things together, bringing people together, bringing hearts together. So for at least the time being, Jupiter is in the gate 19. A little later this weekend, I'm going to release another video, and it will be about Jupiter's transits in the year. Jupiter doesn't stay at the gate 19 except for a month. So from 19, we go to 13, and then we go to 49, and then we go to 30, and then we go to 55. So we have some other themes that Jupiter will be focusing us on as we go into the year. Now, Jupiter is a planet that represents growth and expansion in astrology, but in human design takes on a further meaning of giving our lives a meaning, giving our society a meaning. So it's meaning-based growth and evolution. In Jupiter at the gate 19, starting out the year, it is a focus on the inner development, right? The inner world, and on seeing the invisible lines that connect us all. I call them the morphogenetic fields. Some people might call them ley lines, but they're invisible connections that bring us all together, that inform us all the time of the energy of what's happening out there in the world. Saturn is the taskmaster planet. He is our great teacher. We call him the master teacher in human design because he provides the lessons, but he also provides the rewards when we are doing our due diligence, we are doing our work. He begins the year at the gate of imagination. So you kind of get the picture that part of your work now isn't about the usual things that Saturn focuses on, like work and due diligence and all of the responsibility. In fact, what he's showing us right now is our responsibility is to imagine more. It reminds me, somebody asked me, and I think it's Peggy. Peggy asked me to do another chart like I did the other day with MLK. She wants me to do one on John Lennon. And I thought that's perfect in the grand scheme of things, as John Lennon's, one of the first songs I ever think about is Imagine. And imagine, right? Saturn, imagination, imagine more. Imagine beauty, imagine love, imagine peace. Right? We don't have to focus on strife and war and conflict. We can imagine that there is a peaceful path to anything that arises, any challenge that comes to us. Saturn seems to be setting us on that path for 2021. Uranus, I think we already talked about. Uranus is sort of the rebel. In human design, we show him as the planet that instigates, instigates our contrary nature, perhaps. It instigates sometimes that blowback that we get when we're trying to move in a direction and we meet up with obstacles because maybe we're trying to push or force and not just be free to be. So Uranus here at the gate 27, sustenance, as we talked about, Mars also there, that is creating pathways in the divine feminine. It's right here in the tribal energy of the divine feminine defining what the values of the tribe or the world or the family or the community or the nation are going to be, right? We have to feed people. We have to teach people. We have to go on, fill in the blank, right? All the things that we do that support our human society, but also support it in a healthy and sustainable way. Sustenance, same root of the word sustainability. So we have a theme of sustainable growth or of sustainability, resourcefulness coming up through Uranus. Neptune is at the gate that is now called surrender in the quantum human design system. The regular human design system, it is called the gate of grace and graciousness. It's moody. And in the mood, it's about surrendering to whatever is in the now. Pluto, gate of wonder, the gate of wonder. And this is a gate of psychosis in the shadow. We've been dealing with this too, as Pluto has been sitting on this gate since late 2019 and all through 2020 and a good chunk of 2021 as well, because he moves ever so slowly. But he's focusing on themes right now of opening up to a bigger picture. What happens if we greet the world with awe and wonder, and we see the magic in everything that's happened and the rightness of everything that's happening to move us all to elevate and to evolve our consciousness into a new way of being. It doesn't mean that we're not going to just go into the Siddhic state here. We're going to have to move through that energy of psychosis, because some of us are still stuck in trying to do things the old way, trying to do things in the old way that has created problems, and we keep attempting to solve those problems in the same old way. So it's going to require us to step outside of that old paradigm so that we can see our way into solving problems in new ways. So really, all of the themes that you and I talked about back when we were doing the astrology for 2021 are being echoed right here through human design for 2021. It's pretty wonderful and awe-inspiring. All right. How's everybody doing out there? Time-wise, I need to get moving here shortly. Asa, do I have any questions out there? And because my phone is not telling me. Okay, there we go. No questions. How can that be? Either I'm just super clear today, or I've driven you deep within yourselves and you're awfully quiet. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, I don't see questions. Really? No questions? JLo says in Mercury in gate 49, sheesh, I'm one interesting person. Yes, you are. All of us are. All of us are interesting. Oh, hey, I need to go back to that chart for a minute. Because I wanted to point out something else. Hold on, let me share it again. This one, okay. All right, I wanted to go to the picture here. Remember when I go to the just now charts, right? We see just now charts, and that sometimes we have different centers that are defined because it forms a channel. Well, in the new year chart, all we really have are two centers that are defined. One is the root center at the gate 19, because we have Jupiter sitting at 19, and then the gate 49 at the opposite end, which is Mercury at the gate of the catalyst. So this is such an interesting channel to have as the only defined channel for the year, or for the chart of the new year, because it represents often where we have black and white thinking, where we've gotten caught up in it's either this or it's that, and we don't see the gray area where we've lost sight of what could be. Right? We've lost that middle part, right? So the focus then is about using different skills to see the gray area, to see how it is that we can move away from this or that, right? The opposites, the polarized division. How could we move from that in a revolutionary way through seeing some of the gray area, the commonness between all of the things that we need to solve? And it's connected to the emotional center, and the emotional center, the seat of a major evolution that is happening, a mutation that is occurring over time. By the time we get to 2027, that mutation is finished. So we're in the process of changing our black and white thinking through becoming more revolutionary, more open to thinking outside of the box through, and isn't it interesting that it's Mercury that's sitting at the gate 49 that really represents where our thinking has gotten caught up in that us versus them, or the black or the white, and not able to see that there's this whole space in between that we can start to move energy and shift energy along a continuum, that it doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be both, but both in harmony instead of both in strife. So it's an interesting channel. And eventually, as we move on through the evolution, we're going to lose this gate 19, because this gate 19 keeps us sort of caught up in the animal nature of human beings. And I had such an interesting thing happen to me the other night. And it was weird because I got really sick to my stomach, because I was laying out, I was going to cook some chicken legs for dinner. And I'm laying them out on the baking sheet. And when I picked up one of the legs, the bone was actually broken. And I became so revolted over the thought of this chicken having a broken leg. Whether it got broken after it was processed or not, I don't know. But the thought came across my mind of this evolutionary thing that's happening about becoming more vegetarian, because right then I wanted to throw all that chicken in the trash and become a vegetarian. It was the weirdest thing, because I've not had that feeling before. I've known that might be coming, but that was my first indication that perhaps there's this change in the wind that we're all going to have to deal with in one way or another as we move more toward vegetarianism. I'm not saying you have to become a vegetarian, by the way. It's not about that. It's that the compassion that we're feeling through the emotional center, as it begins to be the source of our wisdom, will start to make us feel more compassionate, and more. It's more going to be more difficult for us to think about eating our fair-feathered friends or our cattle or other animals. So that was my first thought, or my first indication that was actually underway. I think I see Tom would like you to pull a card for the weekend. Well, Tom, what kind of card would you like me to pull for the weekend? I have an entire stack here. Oops. I'm going to tell you what just jumped out at me is a dragon. Dragons. We need some power to be able to imagine more. So let's look at our dragons, shall we? And Tom, if you had a different idea, please tell me. I have a minute maybe that I can put to that. All right. So, oh, isn't that great? We get Kuan Yin's pink dragon, which brings firm love that resets your karmic balance. I think this is the exact card we needed. See all your cords dissolved by transcendent love. Enjoy your freedom. Look for the divine around you. Kuan Yin's pink dragon. There's so much pink there, I can't even see the dragon. There's the tail. Oh, there's the dragon. Oh my God, that's hard to see, right? There's the dragon's face, and it has like sort of horns, antlers. It's a deer dragon. Let's see what this says. So Kuan Yin's pink dragon is probably a 9th dimensional dragon, I would bet. Oh, a 5th dimensional dragon. Okay, I'll take it. 46. And it says, Kuan Yin was a great and revered dragon master who lived for 2,000 years in China. Her 5th dimensional pink dragons created special portals for her so that she could go through them and rest in higher planes. This is how she was able to maintain a physical body for such a long time. Kuan Yin's dragons are the most beautiful pale pink color, the luminous pink of the sacral chakra. They will pour their transcendent love into any cords that tie us to others, whether from this life or any other, in any dimension or plane of existence. dissolving all karma under the law of grace. Here's the guidance for the card. Choosing this card offers you an opportunity to heal all your relationships, including those from past lives that you may be unaware of. Ask Kuan Yin's beautiful pale pink dragons to dissolve the cords that still tie you to others and sit quietly while they do so. You may sense or feel them releasing you completely. Take a moment to feel the freedom that this offers you. These great-hearted dragons will then help you to see with eyes of love. Look for the divine in everyone and be aware of all situations from a higher understanding, knowing that Kuan Yin's gentle pink dragons are by your side. These gracious dragons will enable you to enrich your relationships and transform your friendships. They will help you to treat all people with greater respect, care, and love than ever before. Remember to thank them for enhancing your life. Love it. Perfect. Let me see if Tom he would like a galactic card. Well, that might be a great addition to our galactic dragons. Let's put those out of my way because the other deck is big. Galactic Heritage. Here we go. So the Galactic Heritage cards are written by Lissa Royal Holt, and she also has, the guidebook, the Galactic Heritage cards for the meaning of these cards. And Way Showing, which is a card of Sirius in the future. Card 95, which is a 14, which is a 5. So the energy of change, freedom, Sirius of the future, Way Showing. Sounds like a good one too. Let's see, 95. I don't think we've had this card before either. In the ancient past, Syrians were conflicted about being leaders or staying hidden. They saw this as an either-or situation. Now that they have evolved, they realize that being a leader is not an aggressive or controlling role. True leaders lead from the heart. I could swear I said that earlier, without ego desire, and from a clear sense of inner direction that is aligned with universal consciousness. In the ancient past, you were also conflicted about this issue. But now is the time to release this karmic pattern and no longer have fear of being a leader or a way shower. You don't have to do anything to lead. Simply being is enough. You hear that out there, my projectors? Commentary. This is an era of enlightened, serious consciousness. To successfully evolve, Syrians had to heal some of their deepest fears. One of these fears was about leadership and its responsibilities. They resisted this role, but soon realized that it was part of their spiritual path. They eventually accepted it with gratitude for being allowed to be of service. If you've pulled this card, it most likely means that you have leadership qualities. It may be asked of you to use those qualities now. Recognize that being a leader or teacher can be subtle. It may be as a leader or teacher in your family or community. Do not fear this ability within you, but at the same time, do not force it to manifest. The best leaders are those who don't necessarily want to lead, but simply lead by example. Another possible meaning is that you might be attached to the idea of becoming a leader, and this desire is coming from ego rather than your true self. In order to know which, if any, of these options is the correct interpretation, go honestly within yourself to find the answer. This card also may be referencing a lifetime in which you were a leader, so use your intuition and look at the other circumstances in your life for further clarity. The simplified message: every being is a leader and teacher for others. And as we all embrace this role, we also have to embrace the responsibilities that come with that role: integrity, impeccability, responsibility, and authenticity. I love it. Thank you, Tom, for that request. It seems to fit right in with the themes that we've been talking about this morning. All right, everyone. I wish you all a fabulous weekend, and I will see you on Monday morning. And have a great one, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Asa, for being there in the background. I surely appreciate your help.